Hi everybody, welcome back. To everybody just passing through or to some of my subscribers, and thank you for subscribing. First, I've had a few questions about the tools we've used for the holes. So here's a little shot. This is the tool. It is a 5/8 drill. This was used for the plastic pots. This pot, all the holes that were in this pot are with this drill. Okay? And we'll buzz right along because I got lots I want to tell you. And also this pot, this drill. Okay, now this is our diamond drill bit that we drilled the holes in the glass vases and our humidifiers. And so that's what I believe that's 1/2 inch. And the paint cans, and if you want to do a finer hole in the plastic, my husband starts off with a typical drill like this, and then once the hole is made, this is something plumbers use to make a hole. And you put the screw through the hole, and then it has a funny little end like this, and you tighten it on. And when it's tight, against from both sides, you just take a wrench on this end, and you go the rest of the way, and it does it without making a real messy hole. So those are my instructions from my husband. Now, we have a problem that what happens is I've had a few comments about, oh, I've just repotted exactly how you said, and my plant's dying. Okay, so we have to talk about this, and probably hasn't been covered enough. And the main thing we want to say is TLC, tender loving care, and TL, tough love. And it's a little bit of both. So here we go. You have just looked at your orchid, and you decided when you took it out how the roots looked. So you cut off anything mushy or soft is something you want to cut off and dot with cinnamon. Do not sprinkle cinnamon all over the roots, because you only want to put that cinnamon on the spots where you've cut off a root. Because if you put it on a good root, it'll stop that root from absorbing water. So that's one thing you want to remember. So you've cut off all your mushy, dead looking roots, and you have dabbed them with some cinnamon. So now you have to decide how many good roots you have. Now some people cut off their good roots to within 5 inch because they're putting them in a small pot. I like to leave my roots. If they're healthy, I leave them. And the other thing is, when you're repotting, they've normally probably been in moss, sphagnum moss for a long time. And when you're repotting them, they're in a shock because they're kind of like me. They hate moving. They were put up in a tree with some bark and some light coming through, and they don't want to pack up and leave. They weren't given legs to crawl. They were made to stay in one place. So when you repot, no matter what you're potting it in, they're going to have a little bit of a shock. So when something's in shock, you want to baby it a little bit, but not with water, not necessarily with water. So we've put in some drainage in the bottom of our pot if we wanted to, and we've picked our choice of medium. And the last few I've been doing, because my pots are bigger, my plants are bigger, I switched to the bigger pieces of bark. And this is the top. Yesterday I water once a week on Sundays, and they feel a little damp, the ones on the top, but they're drying quite quickly. They will not get watered again until Sunday. But because they've just been repotted, I may break that routine a little bit. I may take them to the sink and let the water run through only once during that week, not a whole bunch of times. In between, we have our mister. And because we have big holes, we can mist right in those holes. And this is what I do. After you've repotted in your bark, and a little bit of perlite and whatever else you use, I use the Orchid mix, and quite often that Orchid mix settles. You get your bark and then you have all the other stuff. I started to take my bark out and put all the other little things that are in there with the bark in another container. So I soak my bark for 24 hours, and when I'm repotting, I'll sprinkle a little bit of the other stuff where I want it so it doesn't end up in one spot. Because it's been shipped and handled, and you get your box and you dump it out and you're putting it in, and you're probably, when you get to the bottom, you've got too much of a condensed thing. So anyway, I switched to that, and then I just sprinkle what's left in my bag on, and I buy this at our local garden shop. It's very cheap. And in between, it's all potted up. We're happy with it. Everything's been looked after, and we say, oh, it looks dry. 2 days later after you got it in your bark, oh, it looks dry, it's gonna die. And I know, I've done this. So anyway, what you want to do, put it somewhere where you can look after it. Excuse me. Like near your kitchen sink, where mine is. And then, every morning, give it a little mist, spray all its roots. Even though yesterday was watering day, I will baby it a bit, and I'll mist all the top roots, and I'll try not to, I have a kind of a big straw, I don't know what I did with it, but if I get water in here, and I can't get it out with a paper towel, I'll take this big straw and I go and blow all the water away from the roots so I don't get root rot. So, and I've got all these holes. I will even spray all these holes. Now, just remember we're babying this. In the summer, I would do this outside. And I should be outside, but our weather's just terrible. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so, all the little holes. You can go around and mist the holes, because that encourages root growth. They don't need to be really wet inside. Once a week is going to be enough. But when you soak your bark, the bigger pieces, they don't absorb as quickly. So if you do an extra one only during those first 2 weeks after repotting, 1 extra watering, if you think it's really dry. Otherwise, stick to the misting and my tea cloth spa day. Wrap it around. And don't leave it more there than maybe 5 minutes. That's plenty, because actually it'll turn cold and you don't want to do that. And every second watering, you want to use a fertilizer and a weekly solution. And what I do is, this one is 15-5-5 Orchid mix for when they're in bloom, and it's to encourage flowers, and that's why the first number is a 15. Or the 15 is for the nitrogen, and the 10-15-10 is for the flowers. So I just use a pinch of this. Like, I use very little, put it in my watering can, and that's it. And every other watering is probably plenty enough. But one thing I do like is this. I do mist the leaves regular. It's almost empty, so yes, I've been doing it. And I like that. And you can do the aerial roots and the leaves. And that is good. So, let me get this straight. The first number is the nitrogen, and that's to encourage the green growth. And the other one is for the flowers, the 5 and the 5. So, this has been blooming since December 24th. And it's at a good repotting time because it has new growth. When you should repot, not when you have to, but when you should, is when you have new shoots coming out, growing to show it's an active growth. It'll be stronger to take the repotting. That's the best time. But most of the time, I repot mine. I have no luck with sphagnum moss. A lot of people do. But I like to water on a plan, which is once a week. And you're going to baby them for 2 weeks. After that, I don't worry about it. I water them, Maggie. I water them once a week, and then they're on their own. I miss them. They're very hardy. But yes, they hate being repotted, and they need to have a little bit of TLC for the first couple of weeks. Put them where you can watch them on a regular basis. Keep them humid, and they'll be happy. This one, I left all its roots intact, and they seem to be doing good. They're not fleshy green, even though I washed them yesterday, but I'm not having a fit over it. They're going to be fine. I know that. So once a week, I know is enough. And I think that's important, because how you will kill it is with too much water. The sphagnum moss, if you use a little bit in there, some people do, but then you're going to have to change it. And the reason I went to the bark is I've probably read almost everything you can read on the internet, and I ran across a site that had a fellow with I don't know how many leaves it had, 20 leaves on his fel, and he was repotting it. It had been in the same pot with just bark and nothing else for more than 5 years, and the roots were some like mine, but even more so. Lots of roots, healthy, not brown, not black, and it was just the bark. And he says he hardly repots because he doesn't have to worry about sphagnum moss turning acid on him in there. He doesn't have, it's mostly just bark and air. So as long as when you take it to the sink and the water runs through freely, it is probably still good. So my goal is not to be repotting every 1 or 2 years. I want to, that's why I switched to the bigger rot. That's my goal. I want to keep my plants so that they stay around for a long time. They get lots of leaves and become just a part of the family. I don't want to end up having hundreds of orchids. I want to keep the ones that I've got as healthy as possible. And this is my goal. So I hope that helps you a little bit. And I'm sorry if I messed up on this. But, oh yeah, I did a brain fart. Anyway, water weekly with fertilizer, weekly, that's what they say. And I sometimes don't even bother. So I water, I take it to the sink, and I run the water through. I let it drain real good. I notice, yes, it's going through, my pot's still good. And then after, I take my watering can, put a drop of fertilizer in it, and go over the top. That's it. That's it, and that's done, and that's every other week. A lot of times I've never fertilized at all. So mostly it's humidity, and oh yes, and if you're repotting it and you've had to cut too many roots off, don't forget to put a little rooting hormone on it. That will help it to get new roots, and apparently a lot of people have had a lot of success with that. So read up on that, and I hope that this has helped a little bit, and thank you again for joining me.